اللهم صل على محمد وآله.
الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبا القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Can we have a second now salawat for the love of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Can we have a third loud salawat for the Imam of our time, Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjallahu ta'ala farajah? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Today's discussion is about the life of Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam and how we could take her as an inspiration for female ascendancy. We find in the world today, in the wider world, not including the Islamic world, we see that there is a lack of female leadership, there is a lack of female participation. And if you find in the world today, that's why we see the emerging feminist movement. They're trying to fill this gap of lack of female leadership and lack of female participation. If we look in the Islamic world today, we see there is a lack of female speakers. If we tell you name at least 20 internationally known male speakers who travel around the world Islamically lecturing, many people can name 20, if not 20, 30, if not 30, 40. But when we say name Islamically renowned female lecturers who travel around the world lecturing, many people can't even name 10, let alone 5. So we find that there is a huge gap of the need of female participation and female leadership in the world today, especially the Islamic world. So therefore we look at the life of Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam and question, how can we take her as an inspiration for female ascendancy? How can we learn from her life in order to become female individuals within our community who participate within the community? We find that we'll discuss this through 3 points. Number one, we'll discuss, can we take Fatima Zahra alayhi salam as a role model today? Many people question, they say, a woman that lived 1,400 years ago, how can we take her as modern day woman, as a role model in today's society? Many people question that fact. Number two, we'll question, how can we become global role models? Oftentimes we focus on becoming role models for our communities, for our Islamic communities or the Muslim world. But the question is, how do we become role models for the wider world? In a sense, even non-Muslims look upon us and look upon a Muslim woman and say, that is an inspiration. And number three, is a woman capable of becoming an intellectual? Is a woman capable of becoming a leader within Islam? And inshallah, we'll discuss this through the Islamic point of view. When we come to point number one, can a woman who lived around 1,400 years ago become an inspiration in our lives today? We see that many of the intellectuals in the world today, many scientists, they've completely rejected the notion of religion. They say that religion and progression cannot come together, they're incompatible. Why? Because they say that religion was brought to thousands of years ago. How can we in the modern day world move forward if we're abiding by a religious belief system that was brought hundreds of years ago? We see that's why many intellectuals in the West have completely rejected religion. But we see that when Islam was brought to us by the Holy Prophet, he brought Islam as a holistic religion, as a religion which answers every single aspect within our lives. Every question we have in our lives, every obstacle, every challenge, Islam has the answer for it. We see in the Quran, there is many examples. The Quran said it brought to us the best of stories, it brought to us the best of examples, it brought to us the best of people. And we find in the Quran that when we look at each surah in the Holy Quran, it presents to us an example of many of the challenges we face today. For example, Surah Yusuf, it brings to us the example of how Zulaykha had that sexual desire of Yusuf. And we see that many people have that desire, have many desires in their lives today, and they cannot overcome these desires. But in the Surah Yusuf, we see a perfect example of how Yusuf took that stand with Zulaykha. We also find in the Holy Quran, Nuh and his son. How many people in today's world, many children rebel against their parents. They say, our parents lived generations ago. We cannot relate to them, and they rebel against their parents. They do many things behind their back. They completely deviate from the path of Islam. We see the Holy Quran, it brings the example of Nuh and his son as an example to that story. Also, Yaqub and his sons, that jealousy between children, that jealousy between brotherhood, that explains to us. And there's many other examples in the Holy Quran. For example, Surah Al-Mujadila, the woman who went to the Prophet and complained about her husband after he divorced her. So we see that there's many examples in the Holy Quran which we can take as inspiration and as information of how we can tackle obstacles in our life today. We see that Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, although she lived 1,400 years ago, there are many examples within her life that we could take today. Let's bring an example. For example, hijab. Many sisters, I don't know about this community here because I haven't lived here, but in the West, in England, many sisters say, we cannot wear hijab in summer, it gets really hot. You see sisters wearing string dresses on, tight shirts, and they say it's too hot, we can't wear hijab in this heat. But we see Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, there is no heat like Saudi Arabia. I'm sure those who have traveled there, it was boiling hot in her time. Yet Fatima Zahra still maintained her hijab and maintained her modesty. We have narrations which say that Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, her hijab, she used to wear 7 layers of hijab. For example, this is 1 layer, this is the 2nd layer. But Fatima Zahra alayhi salam used to wear 7 layers that people cannot see the figure of her body. And sometimes we begin to question, we say, are we really doing justice to hijab? Are we really doing justice to modesty? Are we really abiding by the rules of hijab? When we see such a great example like Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam wearing layers of clothing within the heat just to protect her modesty. And we see also Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam that even within her speech was so eloquent, she used to speak so beautifully. And many people say, okay, then the heat, that's fine. What about the society we live around us? We have many girls dressing up, makeup, we have many fashions and clothes. That's, sometimes that does affect someone's dress code. We see even in the time of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, there were women who used to perfume themselves. There were women who used to dress up. There was women who used to embellish their faces just to get attraction from the opposite gender. There was exactly the same obstacles and challenges we face today. But in a sense, we need to look at Fatima Zahra alayhi salam and say, how does she deal with all these obstacles and then implement it into our lives? We see also her speech. Many sisters these days, we need to work upon, and I speak to myself before I speak to anyone, we need to work upon the way we speak to the opposite gender. We need to work upon our speech. We need to speak so eloquently. We need to speak with knowledge. We see that the sermon that Fatima Zahra alayhi salam delivered in Fadak. We see, I have a lecture uploaded on the line about the recitation of the sermon of Lady Zainab alayhi salam in Sham, in front of the courtyard of Yazid. If anyone wants to search that, they can just write sermon of Lady Zainab alayhi salam, and then you'll find out across my name. But the speeches of the women of the Ahlulbayt, and I recommend everyone to memorize these speeches of the ladies of the Ahlulbayt, Lady Zainab alayhi salam and Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. We find that when they delivered these speeches, it was so beautifully that it will amaze anyone. I studied English literature in higher education in London, and when I studied this, I don't know many of you know that in English literature we have to analyze anthologies, we have to analyze poems, every syllabus, every paragraph, every word, every comma, there's a meaning behind it. And also we analyze Shakespeare and many other novels. So when I was studying English literature, I presented my teacher with the sermon of Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, the sermon of Sayyidah Zainab. I said to him, read the sermon. He said, what is it? I said, it's a woman who lived many years ago, and she had so many tribulations. I told him the story of Lady Zainab alayhi salam, and I told him the story of Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. I said these ladies had many tribulations poured upon them, and they confronted their enemies, and they delivered their speech. So he read it, and after a week he came back and said, I'm astonished. I said, yes. He said, are these really the speeches that he gave? And he didn't even believe in any religion, not even Christianity. He said, is this the speeches they gave? I said, yeah, they gave these speeches on the spot. He said, oh, so it was just off their head, it wasn't planned or anything? I said, no. He said, it's absolutely amazing. He's like, I've never read such speeches in my life. And I was like, wow. But it just gave me that assurance of the amazing speech that they delivered. If we look at the speech of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam and we analyze it, inshallah in upcoming lectures I'm going to be analyzing the speech that she delivered in Fadak. If we see the speech that she delivered in Fadak, we see that She analysed every point within her speech. For example, there is Islamic history within her speech. She tells the people, she went to the mosque and she delivered this speech. Imagine, her rights were taken away from her. They took FedEx away from her. Her father had just passed away, and there was tribulations poured upon her. And yet she still had the courage to go to the mosque and deliver this speech in front of those who took the rights away from her. In her speech, you find that she speaks about Islamic history. She says, before my father came to you, this is how you were. She speaks about Islamic law. She speaks about, she says all the Islamic laws, the laws of inheritance. Within her speech, she brings Quranic ayat. She says, what about in the Quran? It says about Sulaiman and the issue of inheritance. What about Zechariah and the issue of inheritance? And she says that she praises Allah within her speech. And she tells them, she says, acknowledge who I am. And if you read the speech, honestly, it's mind-blowing. And when she begins the speech, imagine if this happened to us today and someone took our rights, our father had just died, tribulations were poured upon us. If we're going to deliver a speech to our enemies, I wonder how we would begin the speech. I mean, many of us should question how we would begin that speech. But Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, she went, and when she went in front of her enemy, this is how she began her speech. She says, Alhamdulillahi ala ma an'am wa lahu shukru ala ma alham wa thana'u bima qaddam min umumi na'amin ibtadaha. She begins by praising Allah. Forget about the worldly desires. She began by praising Allah. She says, thank the Lord for what He has given me. Thank the Lord for what He has created. Thank the Lord for everything. In a sense that she has this notion that no matter what happens in our lives, sometimes so many problems happen in our lives, it really sometimes distracts us from religion and it moves us away from religion. But we need to begin to think, how did Fatima Zahra alayhi salam react to this? All the tribulations that were put upon them, it got them closer to religion. She thanked Allah because Allah is the Almighty and He is the best of judge. There's a hadith that says, sometimes we say, why isn't our du'as answered? We many times question, they say, you know, Allah, I'm praying to you, I really want this. Why isn't our du'as answered? We have a hadith that say the reason why du'as are not answered, in the day of judgment, when you see what would have happened, when those du'as would have been answered, you would be so happy it didn't happen. In the sense that sometimes we think something is good for us, but it's not. And sometimes we think something's bad for us, but it's not. So sometimes we get this whole, you know, Allah is the best of judge. The second notion is, how can we become global role models? In a sense, how can we become role models that even the non-Muslims look upon us and say, this is our inspiration? We find that many Muslims in the world today, you know, we have the Ahlulbayt as our role models, no doubt. We take the Ahlulbayt as our role models, Fatima Zahra as our role model. But many times, many people have external role models as well. They take the Ahlulbayt as role models, yes, but then they have role models of football players, they have role models of celebrities, they have role models of film stars. You know, there's always an external role model as well. We find that many of our youngsters and teenagers, people in the early 20s, or even people older, they all have these role models, external role models. And we find that we begin to question, why can't a Muslim woman become a global role model? In the sense that even non-Muslims look upon her and say, you know what, I want to dress like her. Just like many of our sisters look upon non-Muslims, you know, celebrities or film stars and say, you know, I want to dress like her, I want to act like her, I want to speak like her. Many people do say that about celebrities around the world. Why can't we have a Muslim role model where even the non-Muslims and Christians look upon us and say, you know what, I want to dress like her, she has the perfect modesty, I want to speak like her, I want to act like her. And that's what we as a Muslim community worldwide need to produce. We need to produce females who can be an inspiration for even the non-Muslims in today's world. We see that in Portugal in 1917, many of you have heard there's a whole city in Portugal called Fatima. In 1917, there was 3 shepherds' children. Now, the oldest girl was 10 years old, sorry. She was 10 years old, and she had 2 siblings which were younger than her. Now, what happened is these children, they went out in the village, and then they saw a figure. And they explained this, and I quote their words. They said that when we saw this lady, when we saw her, her face was brighter than the sun. They were amazed. They saw this lady and her face was brighter than the sun. They say that she was wearing a cloth on her head, and this is what's so beautiful. They said the lady came up to us. Now these are children, they don't know about religion, they don't know much about religion. They said that this lady came to us and she gave us a tasbih. And she said, when she gave us the tasbih, she said, remember Allah with the tasbih, and all your prayers will be answered. That's why you see the Christians, they say, Our Lady of the Rosary Bead. They refer to the rosary bead, and you see many Christians in churches, if you've been, they use the rosary bead to remember Allah. SubhanAllah, and this lady came as the Lady of Fatima, and she had the rosary bead, and she spoke to these children. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So you see that Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, she came as a vision to these children. Now the Christians, they interpret this as Lady Maryam. They said, this is Lady Maryam coming to us in a vision of a lady. So if you go to Portugal today, you see many pilgrims going to Portugal to honor Our Lady Fatima. And there's actually a church in London which is called Our Lady Fatima Church. And you see at the front of the church there's a woman wearing a long abaya, which is usually blue, they have it, and she's going like this, and she has a tasbih in her hand. And even in London, there's many Portuguese women in London called Fatima, and I met a few of them, and they said, you know, we know nothing about Islam, nothing, but yet their name was Fatima, and they named them after what had happened in Portugal. So we see that Fatima Zahra alayhi salam is already a global role model. Even the non-Muslims look upon her as a global role model. So if we begin to learn from her and take her as an inspiration, then surely our community here today and our Muslim community worldwide can become role models as well. And we see that in, like, for example, our professions. In London, I'm not sure about here, in London, majority of the people go into the professions of becoming doctors or pharmacists. That's the two professions that everyone goes into, doctors and pharmacists. But we find that when we focus on one profession only, we leave out the other professions. For example, if we focus on becoming only doctors, then the notion of the media will be left out. Speakers will be left out. We'll have no Muslim speakers. We will have nobody in the media industry. We find that as Muslims, we must be diverse and enter every profession so we can, in a sense, propagate the message of the Ahlulbayt wider. We find that at the moment there is a lack of Muslims within the media. Many people do not understand, but the media has many influences on people. For example, when someone watches a film or when they watch anything on the television, many people don't understand, but what you watch subconsciously goes to your actions and you begin to behave like what you have watched. There are many studies conducted which prove that many people, what they watch, it becomes their actions as well. So imagine this, we don't have Islamic films. At the moment we do, but we don't have, in a sense, dramas and films that are distributed worldwide in many languages, in the English language, let's say. So therefore, at the moment, other organizations are filling that gap. They're producing films and other documentaries, and they're filling that gap. So our youth and our communities are turning to these films for inspiration. So what we find as Muslims, we must be diverse in the sense, enter all the fields, enter media, enter sports, enter art, enter becoming businessmen, becoming doctors, becoming every profession. And when we begin to do that, we will become global inspirations, and we will be able to fill all the gaps in. And finally, we see that when we look at the event of Mubahala, if you look at Surah number 3, ayah number 16, you see the event of Mubahala, that in the Quran it says that the Prophet invited the Christians to have a discussion in Mubahala. So in the Quran it says, call upon our sons and your sons, our woman and your woman, and ourselves and yourselves. And we find that the Prophet, who did he bring as his sons? He brought Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Husayn as his sons. This is a debate with the Christians, a discussion. As the woman, he brought Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. That was enough as the woman. And as himself, he brought himself and Imam Ali as ourselves. So you find that in the event of Mubahala, the Prophet brought Fatima Zahra alayhi salam as the woman for the discussions with the Christians. And many people today, they say, I don't know if this is still present, but when I started lecturing about 6 years ago, many people were like, women lecturing, really? You want women to lecture? So that notion of lecturing really wasn't present, but we find that who is the most pure lady ever to have been created on this earth was Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. And if the Prophet took Fatima Zahra alayhi salam to have a discussion in the event of Mubahala, then surely we as women can also become that envoy to spreading the religion. We can become that means to spreading the religion and serving the religion. And that moves us to our third point. Are women capable of becoming intellectuals or becoming speakers? Many people attack the religion of Islam. They say that in the religion of Islam we have some ahadith which says that a woman is less intellectual than a man, or a woman is half the intellect of a man. I don't know if many of you have heard that debate put forward. But many people do say that to try to lower the capability of a woman. But we find that Allah, when He describes His creations, He says the best of you is the pious ones. Allah puts piety as a barometer for success. He doesn't put your gender. He doesn't say whether you're a man or woman as your gender to success or to become greater. He says your piety. Surely the ones who have high piety are the ones who will become successful and can become inspirations for others as well. And we find that in Islam that it presents us with many role models. There's this fantastic book, unfortunately it still hasn't been translated into the English language, it's still in Arabic, and it says Nisa. And what this book has all the women of history from the time of the Prophet till our last Imam Mahdi Ajallah Ta'ala Faraja. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraja. I'll try researching this book and try to find it in the English language. It has all the women who were active within the community, and you would be surprised of how many women were active in the time of the Prophet. We get many of our narrations from women that we don't even know how many women narrated, and it has like over 100 women who we take our narrations from. It has the daughters of the Imams. We often, many times we take Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, Lady Zainab, Lady Kulthum, and those ladies of the Ahlulbayt as our role models. But sometimes we leave out the other role models, and we need to begin to research on other role models because there's so much present to us today. When we look at Hadith al-Kisa as well, what do we see in Hadith al-Kisa? We see that Fatima Zahra alayhi salam is the center of Hadith al-Kisa. At the end, when it says who is underneath the Kisa, it says Hum Fatimata Abiha wa Ba'luha wa Baniha. So you see that Fatima Zahra alayhi salam is the center of Hadith al-Kisa, which shows the glory of a woman and the status of the woman. And Islam brought the best status to women. There's also a book called The Rights of Women by Ayatollah Mutahhari, which you can read on the rights of women. There's many other books as well on the rights of women, women and hijab, and many other recommended books as well. But what you see is that Islam brought the best rights to women. Before Islam, women were not respected. Women had less rights in Islam. We see that Islam brought the rights to women. And now in the world today, we see this flipping again. In the West, we see that women are being exploited. They're becoming, sexual objects. And seriously, sometimes I look at the billboards, I say, is this a human being or is this a piece of meat? Women have completely become disrespected within the community. We see that in order for us to become respected, in order for us to be inspirations, in order for us to become individuals within society, we need to go back and start behaving like Fatima Zahra alayhi salam and like this woman, and only then we will achieve success. We do pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to make us and spread the message of the Ahlul Bayt in the best of way. We also pray to Allah to give us the shafa'ah of Muhammad and al-Muhammad, and also pray to all the oppressed people from around the world. Please recite Surah Al-Fatiha, but before that the loudest salawat.
Ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm just going to, inshallah, with reference to a hadith, looking at a little bit more of the significance of Hazrat Fatima salam alayha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praise is due to the one reality that brought us into existence through love and endowed us with the light of consciousness that we may witness His perfection. And salutations to His final prophet and messenger Muhammad and the purified progeny who came after him and who are still to come, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj. Fatima Zahra, peace be upon her, daughter of the final prophet and messenger, peace be upon him and his purified progeny, has, like the Holy Prophet, both exoteric and esoteric dimensions. This means that she has a historical personality and also a cosmological personality. She's known as someone who washed the blood from her father's face on the battlefield, who cleaned him and comforted him after he had animal entrails thrown at him, and who was known as Am-o-Abiha, the mother of her father. Such was the respect that the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family had for her. And she also staunchly defended her husband, Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salam, in the face of those who sought to wrest from him his position as the successor of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family. She was outspoken and unafraid. So what about Hazrat Fatima salam alayha's inner cosmological personality? What can we learn from it? In turning to this dimension of Fatima, not only do we journey to the inner reality of this revealed way of life, Islam, but we are also better able to understand the one underlying reality from which we all originate and to which we will all return. Fatima was sent into the world not only to assist in establishing Islam as a way of life to be practiced here, but also as a sign of the one reality that brought everything into existence, and as a means to knowing that reality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Islam teaches that God has 99 names and attributes, and these names and attributes both make up creation and are reflected in it. The aim of the Muslim is likewise to reflect them in a manner befitting human capacity. However, what is different between those of us who have been brought into this world to undergo the trials of the soul so that we may be polished in our return to that one reality, and the Holy Prophet and his purified family and progeny, is that while we strive imperfectly to manifest the names and attributes, the purified family and progeny were created already as their perfect manifestations. In relation to the verse of the Quran where it says, "To Allah belong the best names," chapter 7, ayah 180, Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam said, "Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad." He said, we are the names of Allah. The Holy Prophet and his purified family and progeny were created as perfect manifestations of the attributes in order that they might be infallible examples for mankind to follow, and in order that this perfection might shine in the spiritual darkness of the world throughout history until the end of time. In cosmological terms, according to Islam, the 14 infallibles, the Prophet, his daughter Fatima, and the 12 Imams, alayhim salam, were created as manifestations of the names and attributes before coming into existence in this world. We could say that at one point in history, therefore, they existed both in the highest realm of the cosmic hierarchy, which is the realm of the intellect, and in this realm as human beings and lamps of guidance. So they exist both in the spiritual realm and in the material realm at the same time. And there are many narrations that tell of Fatima's cosmic qualities. it is said that Fatima was created from the name Al-Fatir, and Al-Fatir has different meanings, each related to each other. Al-Fatir is said to be the cleaver of the heavens and the earth, since the name derives from fatara, to cleave. And according to one respected scholar, in this case, Al-Fatir means one who cleaves and breaks non-existence and brings about existence, or one who originates and brings into being. So Hazrat Fatima has a name that reflects creating. There is one narration in which Allah is seen to converse with Prophet Adam before Adam came into existence. And here Allah introduces Fatima, peace be upon her, to Adam, saying, "And this is Fatima, while I am Fatir as-samawati wal-ard, the originator of the heavens and the earth. Fatima ad-da'i min rahmati yawm al-fasli qada'i, the severer of my enemies from my mercy on the day of judgment. And Fatima awliya'i amma ya'tarihim ma yashinuhum, the relinquisher of affliction and disgrace from those near to me. So I derive for her a name from my name." So Allah's name as Al-Fatir is the one who brings close to him his awliya, his friends, and he's the one who banishes his enemies. And Fatima's name was created from this. According to another narration, when Allah brought Adam into being, Adam saw 5 names inscribed on the throne being Allah's knowledge and power. And he asked what they were. And Allah told him, first, there is Muhammad, for I am Mahmud, the praised one. And second, there is Ali, for I am Al-Ali, the most high. And third, there is Fatima, for I am Al-Fatir, the creator. And fourth, there is al-Hasan, for I am al-Muhsin, the benefactor. And fifth, there is al-Husayn, for I am Dhul al-Ihsan, the Lord of beauty and perfection. There are other beautiful narrations where Adam encounters Fatima in the garden before the fall of man. They say when Allah created Adam, there was a brilliant girl from whom light was illuminating, and on her head was a golden crown ornamented with diamonds, the like of which Adam had never seen. And Adam asked, "My Lord, who is this girl?" And Allah said, "Fatima, daughter of Muhammad, peace be upon them all." Adam said, "My Lord, who is her husband?" Allah said, "Ya Jibra'il, open the gates of the ruby palace." And when Jibra'il did, Adam saw a dome of camphor, and inside it was a golden bed equipped by a young man as beautiful as Yusuf. And he said, "This is her husband, Ali ibn Abi Talib." And the 11th, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajah. The 11th Imam, Imam Hassan ibn Ali al-Askari alayhi salam, reported that his fathers quoted a well-known companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, Jabir ibn Abdullah, as saying, "The Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him and his family, said, when Allah created Adam and Eve, they strutted through paradise and said, 'Who are better than we?' And at that moment, they noticed an image of a girl, the like of which they'd never seen before. And from this girl came an illuminating light so bright that it almost blinded the eyes. And they said, 'Oh Lord, what is this?' And he answered, 'This is the image of Fatima, the mistress of your women descendants.' And Adam asked, 'What is this crown on her head?' And Allah said, 'Her husband Ali.' And Adam then asked, 'What are her 2 earrings?' And Allah replied, 'Her 2 sons. They were ordained in my ever-existent knowledge, 2,000 years before I created you. And the greatest night in the Islamic calendar is that which falls in the month of Ramadan, as we know, and which is called Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, or the night of divine decree. And it was on this night that the Quran was sent down to the heart of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family. And there is a chapter in the Quran named after it, as we know, called Al-Qadr. And in relation to this, Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad, has famously said, the night of divine decree is Fatima, peace be upon her. Therefore, whoever knows Fatima well has understood the night of divine decree. And Imam Sadiq alayhi salam also said, the night is Fatima and the Qadr, the power or the divine decree. Sorry, the night is Fatima and the Qadr is Allah. As one scholar has noted, Fatima's burial place is hidden and she was buried at night. And similarly, the exact date of the night of Qadr in the month of Ramadan is hidden, it's not known. It may be, as we know, the night of the 21st, 23rd or 25th. And Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, she has been called Fatima because mankind has been prevented, Fatimu, from obtaining her acquaintance and cannot comprehend her innermost essence. And not only that, but we may interpret from this inner knowledge, this knowledge of the heart, that internal spiritual knowledge is always hidden. So Fatima's reality is hidden in the same way that the knowledge of the soul is hidden, and in the way that the spiritual realms are also hidden from us. It is hidden because it lies in the innermost depths of our being and remains known to only us and the one reality, that is Allah. So the innermost depths of our being, the deepest knowledge that we have of ourselves, is known only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ourselves. It's hidden. And likewise, Fatima, her reality is also hidden. Also, if we think about Fatima being hidden, we know that this esoteric inner knowledge is also hidden in society because many people don't understand it and may condemn it. As we know, Imams of Ahlulbayt alayhim salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad, had to be very careful about who they transmitted their knowledge to. Otherwise, they were in danger of being betrayed. The knowledge was in danger of being polluted or corrupted. And so Fatima is as precious in the same way that this knowledge is that has been transmitted down through the Ahlul Bayt. Similarly, Fatima represents the esoteric dimensions of Islam. Those dimensions that also lie hidden to all except those who have a discerning eye and a heart, and who sincerely seek out this hidden knowledge. Furthermore, as the wife of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, who himself said, the Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, showed me 1,000 doors of knowledge, and behind each door was another 1,000 doors. And as the mother of the Imams who succeeded her, who were and are the guardians of the deeper dimensions of Islam, it can also be seen how Fatima is she from whom flows all esoteric knowledge, culminating in he who is also hidden, the last Imam, Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallah Farajhu al-Sharif, who also instructs his followers in secret to this day. So we know that Islam has many hidden levels and layers and levels of knowledge, and we have to purify our hearts to get deeper into these levels, and Fatima is the queen of this knowledge. There's an Iranian scholar, Hassan Zada Amali, who has explained that the night of the divine decree is al-Insan al-Kamil, because the night of divine decree reflects all of Allah's attributes, just as does al-Insan al-Kamil. It is said that according to some scholars, the universe also reflects all of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes, and the Quran is also a universe reflecting all of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes. And the human being who reflects all of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes is a walking Quran, as the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family was called. So the night of divine decree, in which the entire Quran, reflecting all of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes, was revealed to the heart of the Holy Prophet, is thus the structure of al-Insan al-Kamil, and Fatima as the night is thus the time in which it was revealed and the means by which it descended to the earthly realm. So it is through Fatima that the Quran descended to this realm of existence. And she's called, according to a narration, as we know, the confluence of two lights, Majma al-Nurayn. These two lights being Nubuwah, prophecy, and Imama or Wilaya, the imamate, the exoteric and the esoteric manifestations of authority and knowledge. The night of power is also known as the heart of the seal of prophethood. Fatima, therefore, is the heart of the seal of prophethood. She is also, as Hassan Zada Amali has said, the fruit of prophecy. Such is Fatima's status that she has been given intercession for those who follow her. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family said, I named her Fatima because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected Fatima, her, and whoever loves her from the fire. So whoever loves Fatima will be, we will be protected through her name from the fire. She has also been seen as, well, Ali ibn Abi Talib has been seen as the Tawbah tree in Jannah, who serves as a veil through which the light of Fatima manifests itself. And there is a poem dedicated to her from the 14th century, which says, she is the tree with 12 branches, whose fruits have been cultivated in secret since the beginning of time, preserved for the elect in measured share, those seekers, those leaders of seekers and lovers. She is the sanctuary of paradise with the Tawbah tree. She is the source of salsabil, that exquisite drink of which never satiates, which heals hearts and grants every wish to the learned and wise. She is their residence built since eternity, their majestically towering shelter. She is the raging sea, the light of the name, the book which conceals within itself all wisdom, of which the text of the Quran is but an outer cover and a distant echo. And in terms of Fatima globally, we can see that she has influenced Islamic practice. You may have heard in other parts of East Africa, Somalia and Djibouti, these gatherings called sitat, and this is where the ladies gather together and they seek closeness to Fatima and also her intercession, chanting Madad, Madad Fatima, daughter of the chosen one. Madad, Madad Fatima, daughter of the Prophet, give us that for which we call upon you. You, new moon, mother, lightning that reached the earth, shining Fatima, we need you urgently. And she also appears in poems by Nana Asmao, the daughter of Usman Dan Fodio, the founder of the Sokoto Caliphate in the 19th century in current day Nigeria. And this lady wrote, and Fatima Zahra, or Batul, gracious lady, close follower of the Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, she was peerless, she who shunned the world. And of course, Fatima has her own European legacy, for it's known that from the time that Muslims lived in Portugal and named the famous place known as Fatima after her, and this place has become the confluence, the coming together of Fatima and Hazrat Maryam, as you may have heard of the vision that took place in Portugal in a place called Fatima. And so Fatima and Hazrat Maryam are also fused together as one person. So we can say that nowadays we live in a world where only fragments of prophetic knowledge are left, where the traces of the prophetic path have faded, and where people have become divorced from their own inner self, leading to a global sense of unease and dissatisfaction with the self. Our societies have become alienated from the prophetic path, and people have become alienated from themselves without even realizing it. And seeking out those faded traces of the path might be seen as something odd and incomprehensible and irrelevant, but this is a path of light that has been revealed in order for us to know the true meaning of our existence and to know the true reality out of which all other realities have emerged. And that one absolute reality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, lies at the very heart of our existence. If we cannot know that reality, that truth, we can never know ourselves. And as long as we can't know ourselves, we will always live in a state of restless dissatisfaction. Fatima is the model of prophetic femininity. She is also the model of strength and power that derives from prophetic knowledge. And in today's world, where this prophetic model is all but forgotten, Fatima is an example of resistance against the tide of a ruthless, worldly consciousness that pervades our society and agitates our souls. She's a reminder of what we could be as human beings if only we followed the signs pointing to our own inner self. And she herself is one of those signs. As the embodiment of the inner knowledge of the prophetic path, the carrier and the transmitter of its light, Fatima calls us to search more deeply for that which may not have been at first apparent, to explore the hidden depths of our own selves in order that we may purify ourselves and be filled with the light that illuminates our existence and which brings us back to that state of inner peace, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah.
اللهم صل على محمد.